If it isn't, the BikeBandit.com Tenere 700. Alright guys, this bike was dropped off last night and I have not yet swung my leg over it, started up, listened to the motor, none of that stuff. Now I did ride with Travis last weekend. We did a charity ride with the Broken Enduro group. Phenomenal group, and if you ever get a chance to ride with them, highly recommend it. Anyway, today's ride is going to be twofold. I'm going to be giving you my initial feedback on what this bike feels like as soon as I swing a leg over, when I turn the key on, what the starter feels like, what the computer feels like. I've never ridden this bike before, so it's going to be my first time as well as your first time. So let's get to it. Like I said, I did ride next to Travis this last weekend, and him sitting on this bike next to my Super Enduro, the seat height looked extremely short. Now for me, coming off a 2008 BMW 1200 Adventure and a 2009 KTM 950 Super Enduro, I can't touch the ground on either of those bikes. So on any of my bikes I have to do a lot of sliding off the saddle from side to side. But this bike, relatively low seat height as compared to other bikes in this genre. Another thing I noticed right off the bat is how skinny this bike is. It is really skinny. The cockpit, everything is narrow. Instead of having a really wide TPS display, we have a tall display. The bars seem a little bit narrower than a lot of the other benchmark bikes out there. Obviously he swapped them out already, but I'd be curious to see just how wide that Yamaha stock bar is. But everything in the cockpit here looks really narrow. Now we get the key turning on for the first time. We can see all of the numbers up here on the display. We got a full tank of fuel. We're neutral. Looks like ABS is on there. There it is. Let's take this off-road. ABS on and off. That's kind of cool. So I should just be able to hit a button that will then turn ABS off. That's cool. Alright, so we are in neutral. Let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. Ooh, nice and smooth. That's nice. I like that a lot. Now you're going to notice that Travis also has a Trail Tech Voyager up here at the top, the Voyager Pro. These things are phenomenal. I haven't actually used one out in the wild yet, so I might play with that a little bit as the day goes on. Now this bike does have a Krapovica pipe on it. It does not have stock exhaust, so it does sound a little bit more rumbly than the OEM, something to keep in mind. The tachometer is pretty interesting. So the tachometer's coming to the side and I'm starting to think that I'm getting close to redline, but the redline actually extends out and across over the top. Pretty interesting. So just cruising, 5th gear, 45 miles an hour. We're doing about 4,000 RPMs. Gotta say, right now, that first little pickup, everything seems really linear. It's not like it's sluggish at the beginning and then picks up. It's not like it picks up really fast and then dies off. What I'm feeling is a very linear power band. It's pretty cool. I was telling you about that tachometer before. Let me come down into a lower gear and I'll show you. It's kind of interesting how it comes up, progresses up and over. Okay, off the line, guys. Super smooth. There's a little bit of vibration in the seat, but overall, let's go ahead and take this. But overall, the feel is just really, really buttery smooth. As far as suspension goes, this bike has stock suspension. Travis says that he took the clickers and adjusted the preload so that he's pretty much all the way in, then backed off just a little bit. That way, I mean, he's a big dude and I'm not so light myself. So the springs are all stock. Everything suspension-wise is stock. We just adjusted the preload. All right, here we go. First freeway entrance. So we're getting a little head stake there in the front. That is very indicative of all the and it's very indicative of a lot of the 90-10 tires that we have out there. The rain groove cement that we have here in California is absolutely horrible. But as far as first roll on, I mean, there's plenty of punch on this bike in order to get you up to freeway speed quickly. If I wanted to pass these cars and run into the next lane, if I grab a full handful of throttle, I've actually got some pretty ample pickup in order to be able to jump over and do that. So this bike does have ABS, it does not have traction control, it doesn't have any of the other crazy electronics that most of the adventure bikes out there in the marketplace have at the moment. And that, I'm going to say, is a benefit of this machine right here. The fact that it really is dependent on rider input in order to get you where you're going. Cruising 75 miles an hour, this thing feels super stable here on the freeway. Right now I'm taking a feel for what the wind feels like. I can tell you that my legs feel like they're completely protected. The wind's coming out and around the fairing. My legs are in a perfect pocket down here. Nice job, Yamaha. Now as far as the windscreen goes, we have two little gussets or winglets down here on the sides. That's supposed to get that wind coming up and around from the bottom. There's not much air coming in through the cockpit area, which is nice. I know on a lot of the Africa Twins, that wind tunnel here that's created comes up, hits the bottom of the helmet, and gives you a bunch of buffeting. There's zero air here in the cockpit area. There's no buffeting of the helmet. It feels really good. Now as far as that fairing goes, that wind is coming around the windshield, and putting my hand out right about here is where I can start feeling the dirty air on the outside. Side air is coming up and it is hitting the outside edges of my shoulders. So if you're a wider guy, you might want to go ahead and extend those wings a little bit in order to create a little bit larger of a bubble. Now, windscreen. So the windscreen, I am getting a little bit of buffeting on the very top of my helmet. And go ahead and feel this out real quick. So the wind's coming up and over. I have clean air all the way up until right here. So that's going to be just above the bridge of my nose, so right above my eyebrows is where that wind is coming up and over, and that dirty air is actually hitting the top of my helmet here. So I'm getting some noise inside the helmet because of that. So either a little winglet up there on the top, there's lots of companies that make those, that would probably allow that air to just kind of swoop up and over the helmet a little bit more. That would make the cockpit of this motorcycle just a little bit quieter. Handlebar position I really can't talk about because Travis has already swapped out these bars. He lowered them down a little bit. He's a relatively tall guy, but he rides this thing really hard off-road, and he wanted more of an attack position on the bars. So he felt that the Yamaha bars were a little bit too tall, so he put on these nice Pro Taper bars with a nice low bend. The other thing you're going to notice is we have Cycra handguards on here. The factory handguards are literally... Oh, we're getting off here. Again, this bike is super nimble. Last minute movements like that, I mean, the front of this bike is so light. If I had to say that's the biggest difference in feeling that I'm feeling on this versus an R1200 GS, my 950 Super Enduro, the Africa Twin even. Now the way that Yamaha's put this bike together, the way that front tire feels so light, it just feels like it just floats around up there. It is phenomenal as far as how easy this bike is to turn in. I mean, literally without even thinking about it, the bike just falls right over. So fourth gear, 50 miles an hour, a little backcountry road. The power on this bike is really interesting. So for example, right there, fourth gear, I was pinned full wide open as I came up over that crest. If I was on the 950 fourth gear, pinned wide open to that crest, there's a good chance I could have looped that one out, at least lifted the front wheel a little bit. The power of this Yamaha, well, it's not lacking power at all in any stretch of the imagination. It is linear, it is predictable, and it is there when you need it. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get this off-road. Let's go ahead and get this ABS turned off here real quick as we head into this off-road section. Now this road can be interesting. It can either be kind of smashed down like what we're seeing today, where the cars have come through here enough in order to smush those large rocks down into the ground and make for a nice easy rolling surface. And then other times, even after a hard rain or something like that, we're basically going to have a really large river rock just kind of sitting all over the top. Makes it relatively difficult to ride on. Third gear, mid throttle. In this gear, I feel like I'm a little bit low on the gear. The bike isn't lugging, but it's not at that peak performance level. It takes just a second after I twist the throttle in order for it to kick in and then be ready to rip. So it looks like that short little section off-road there, we're putting the motor a little bit more under strain. We jumped up to about 220, 230 degrees on the temperature gauge there. I'll have to go back and look at the footage to see exactly what that did jump to. Now the fan's kicked on, it's cooling itself down, everything's dialed. This bike feels amazing out here in the dirt. We can launch off little ledges like that. It's pretty much soaking everything up. For stock suspension, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's not bad at all. At 223 degrees. It's getting pretty warm out here. Hammering these riverbed rocks. Alright, so now we're getting into some varied terrain. We got some off-camber stuff. It looks like we're going to get into some gravel. Turn the tire cameras back on again. Now we're going to get this T7 up here into the mountains. So down here it's actually turning into like a deeper, I mean, it's gravel, I guess. So I've ridden both my 950 Super Enduro and my 1190 Adventure R. Well, let me take that back. And even my BMW R1200 GS Adventure up here. And I gotta tell you, out of all four bikes, including the Super T, this bike is the easiest of all four to ride in this particular terrain. The 1190 was throwing down so much power that we were just on and off the throttle all the time. Right here, I'm keeping a pretty steady throttle. And what gear are we in? Second and third gear, depending. Like the slow stuff I'm in second, and then the faster stuff I was in third. Just keep a moderate throttle on, and dude, this bike is just chugging through all of this stuff. it looks like the trail goes up this little creek bed here. Ugh. Dude, this bike is climbing so easy. Except the power and torque is right there. The power is not overbearing, and the torque is amazingly right there where you want it. So awesome. Some deep gravel or sand right here. Stalled it for the first time, guys, but man, whew, amazing terrain. Not for the faint of heart. Tell you what, this on an R1200 GS Adventure would be a little bit technical. I mean, I'm a bit winded, and this bike is so easy to ride. It's amazing. Oh! There we go. Well, guys, I'm gonna walk around the corner and take a look, but it looks as if we have come to the end of this trail. The goal was to be able to pass through this canyon up onto the top of the mountain to be able to drop down to Highway 138. As you can see, we've got ourselves in kind of a box canyon here that is not allowing us to go forward any further. Now, the two amazing things we were able to accomplish is we were able to ride this Yamaha T7 over some awesome riverbed terrain. I mean, lots of obstacles, ups and downs, off camber, changes in gravel to rock to kind of sandy terrain. We were able to see how this bike feels in all of those off-road conditions. We even had some loamy sections there for a little bit. Pretty wild. In addition to testing the bike, we're also testing tires. These Dunlop 908 Rally Raid tires are definitely the ticket if you've got a more off-road oriented adventure bike. Now it's time to get back down this creek bed so we can continue the day's test. Oh, that's cool. That's a neat feature that I didn't know existed. Right here, you actually toggle the screen. Instead of coming up and pushing these buttons, you can toggle it by just hitting this little switch over here. So this right here is going to be our backcountry highway byway road. It's gonna be lots of twisties. It's a slow speed road, but we can pick up the pace a little bit. We can lean the bike over. Now, I picked this road, or this is a road that I choose to do this on because it is always changing. You've got tar snakes, you've got potholes, you've got missing road, you've got water flowing over the top of the road. It's just rock slides. Every time I come down this road, there's something different. It changes. Even if I do a test early in the morning, then come back in the afternoon, the road's different. It always changes, and that's why I like to get out here and use this road for this portion of the test. We can really get the bike leaned over. The terrain's nice. There's not much traffic. There's a whole lot of reasons. the power on this T7 is extremely usable and extremely rider friendly. Ah, this road is so gorgeous. Love it. Ooh, skunk! Somebody made a skunk mad. Alright, now we're going to do a little blasting of Highway 18. This will allow us to get some high-speed twisties in. On this particular road, I'm 5th gear right now. I am full pinned open, but man, it feels good. Like just the way the bike's set up, the geometry, the tires, everything on this thing. Just Yamaha did a really good job. They took 5 years to get this thing out into the marketplace after they said they were going to have it to us. But I gotta say, if it was not like this before, if it had weak points, I'm glad they kept it to themselves and didn't release it till now, because man, this thing feels amazing. Oh, what a great vantage point here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back around. That's the dirt road that we take off. That's going to take us up and over the little jump, down and around the corner. And then that far little knoll over there, you can see the dirt road that kind of zigzags up. That's actually the last hill climb that we're going to do. So now it's time to get down to that dirt so we can have some more fun. Alright, this is where we're going to turn off onto the dirt. Now this dirt road does get traveled quite a bit by the parasailing and wind, what do you call that thing? Hang gliding group of guys. Woohoo, nice. Now this section of the road actually typically gets a little bit rough front bumper. There's quite a bit more rocks in it. But I mean, it hasn't rained in a long time, and these rocks have kind of been filled in with some loose topsoil dirt. Alright, that there behind the water tower is going to be our hill climb. We're in 2nd gear. I'm going to go ahead and stay there. Seems to be the perfect cruising gear on backcountry dirt roads for this little bike. Alright, we're not going to go super fast, just going to hit it. Looks like lots of cars have gotten stuck here lately. And there's the view of a nice smoggy day today here in the Inland Empire. Go ahead, head down. You can see we kind of cross paths right there. Here where these 4-wheel vehicles have dug out the dirt, it's pretty soft, powder even. I used to come down here. It looks a bit overgrown right now. Let's make our way around. Alright, I got a couple guys in tow here. Got to keep the dust down so I can't go too fast. So let's talk a little bit about this Yamaha Tenere 700, otherwise known as the T7. So starting off overall, $10,000 for a bike with this much capability is a great price. I really think they hit it out of the park. Now, there's a lot of things, small things that you could tweak on this bike from the factory that would make it better. I think the mirrors aren't so nice. The wind guards, I'm going to call them, that they have as hand guards are flimsy plastic and have to be removed immediately. The stock bar I felt was okay. It was a bit high. It's in the correct spot for guys who put rocks riders on their bike. If that's how you like to ride your bike, so when you're standing up, you can have full locked arms, then the stock bar will probably be great for you. The bike that I'm riding right now, Travis Brock's bike, every single Sunday, he put the Pro Taper low bend bars on it. They're really comfortable. They give me a great off-road stance and they're comfortable on road. It's an upgrade that I would recommend. I really do like it. As for grips go, swapping out to a softer aftermarket grip can really be beneficial. The stock grip is okay, but it is just a bit hard. And but when it comes to other components such as the brakes work well, the engine pulls well, the seat's comfortable, the foot pegs are in a great position. I mean, overall, the bike is a very well put together machine. I mean, it's got the reliability of the MT-07 motor, so I mean, as far as that goes, this bike should be absolutely rock solid. Alright, so I'm now riding a mountain road at nighttime, and we got a lot of corners, we got some elevation changes, and I gotta say that an improvement that Yamaha could make is the front end lighting. Now, they made the lighting look badass. If you look at the front of this bike, it just looks killer. But the actual functionality of this setup is not very good. Right now, my high beam is on, as you can see, is indicated by that blue light. This here is the low beam. I can basically see what, whoa, that was a nice squirrel running out in front of me. I can basically see just in front of the bike, like, I don't know, 20, 25 feet. And then everything is pitch black past that, just pitch black. It's horrible. Hit the high beam, and I do see some more up there, but not much to the left or to the right. It's basically just a beam that goes straight out. Not much flood there on this high beam. Definitely a lot of improvement could be made on the stock lighting. So let's take a look. Well, right now we've got ambient air temperature outside of 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Engine temperature 176. Interestingly enough, the average fuel mileage on this tank is 40.3 miles to gallon. It says right now I'm cruising down this road here, I'm getting 83.6. That's definitely eco mode, guys. This goes to show the extreme variance in fuel mileage. Now, if I go ahead and drop the gear and open the throttle, drop down to 16.5 miles to gallon. So it just really fluctuates a lot between whether your throttle's twisted, whether you're not, whether you're cruising. But hey, to an average fuel consumption of 40 something miles a gallon, that's pretty freaking cool. What was it? 40.3 average. Oh, that's awesome. That was a super fun ride, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you can be part of the notification squad and be notified when new videos of this T7 are released. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care and ride safe.